This is the GTN Show, and this week we're talking about supplements within triathlon. What are they and whether they actually help us?
Well, on top of that, we've got a bumper edition of Hot or Not. We're going to be discussing some of the exciting racing results after another action-packed weekend. We've got your swim photos to share, we've got GTN Tribe and more.
Right, well, I'd like to start things off by chatting about supplements within triathlon. Now, it is a funny subject because some people swear by supplements whilst others avoid them like the devil. And I mean, triathlon is a very demanding sport, trying to juggle 3 sports. And with that, we can deplete our bodies of essential nutrients, which is why some people look to nutrients, supplements to fill that gap, whilst others, I guess, try to do it through their diets.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of people, stick to doing it purely the diet way because they are worried about, you hear lots of rumours or contamination stories and whether they actually are or whether they're athletes who, have been tested positive and actually are trying to, put in an excuse somewhere. But, often supplements are made in factories where banned substances are also made, and it is hard to know that. You need to look for the informed sports sign and see if things are batch tested, but still, I guess there's always the fear with that. But then also, there's the whole, we're talking about supplements, but how do we define supplements? And I remember, and as an athlete, and I was really anti-supplements, and the nutritionist, did my bloods and said they were good, but I was talking about my diet, and he's like, well, you do take supplements. I'm like, well, no, I don't. He's like, well, you use, there's a brand called For Goodness Shakes, and I used to have their recovery shakes, and I'd occasionally have like the odd power bar to eat, but I was like, I don't take pills. That to me was what a supplement was.
I was exactly the same, so I would have protein shakes, but they're informed sport ones, but I thought, oh, it's fine, I'm not taking supplements.
I'm not actually taking something out of a pot.
Yeah, well, all that aside, the reason why I bring this up today is because there has been a recent study into the effects of supplements on our performance. Now, this was performed by Carleton University in collaboration with Ottawa-based company Cetara Inc. Well, they looked into what are called metabolites, which are essentially molecules that flow through our bloodstream keep our body functioning, particularly during exercise. Now, they examined these metabolites from blood samples of athletes at set intervals during a long distance run.
And within that, they then looked at the actual amino acids, because it's actually the supplements that a lot of runners are taking now are protein based, and to see how the metabolism differed from runner to runner. And they found from that actually there was a significant difference, and the meaning that some supplements will work for some athletes and some won't for others because of that metabolic pattern.
Yeah, so in short, some people might want to take supplements, some might not want to. But this is still very early stages, an early study into this. So I guess the ability for athletes to go and walk into a shop and find out whether they do need supplements or not is quite hard. But I guess what brands could take from this is maybe they should start tailoring their products for different degrees of athletes that need.
And maybe different, like, running is pretty vague, like what type of running and how much of an endurance runner you are compared to a sprinter. And I think lots of people think, oh, sprinters need the high protein, and endurance runners maybe don't so much, but it's not necessarily true.
Well, as always, we'd love to hear from you guys. So we're going to ask you, do you take any supplements? And it's a very simple yes or no, and you can enter that by clicking just up here. And now for last week's poll.
Yeah, last week we asked you, should there be a universal wetsuit-legal temperature? And only 30% of you said no. Massive 70% said yes, there should be a set temperature, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. And we have actually had some nice comments coming in with some suggestions. So here's one from Horia Popan, and they said there should be 2 international water temperature limits for open water swimming. One lower one, where wetsuits are mandatory, and then one higher, regulating when a wetsuit is prohibited, and then anything in between those 2 limits, well, wetsuits should be optional.
There's another comment here that's maybe slightly less flexible on the rules from Eric Norgard, and he says, I'm tired of athletes whimping and whining about not being allowed to swim in their wetsuit. Rules should be aligned with the FINA, which is the Swimming International Body open water rules. Wetsuit permitted temperature limit is way too high, should be forbidden if it's over 20 degrees, mandatory below 18. I personally don't, I still wear my wetsuit if it's over 20 degrees if I'm swimming.
I think Eric will upset quite a few people, and I think with a name like Eric Norgard, I think he's from Scandinavia, so he's probably used to those colder water temperatures.
And I'm guessing he's a good swimmer as well from that.
Probably. Now for hot or not, and today we have an absolute beast. And
oh yeah.
to start things off, I'm going to go all things aero. And it's a follow-on from Eurobike, and it's actually one that I've had loads of questions about since I previously featured them at the Ironman World Championships in Kona and also at Challenge Rot. And it is those real-time aero testing devices that are sort of like pitot tubes that go on the front of your bike. So we've had one from Notio Connect. There was one from Aeropod. There's one from Swisside. Yeah. Now the Notio Connect one, they have actually started selling and shipping their products, which is good news for all those people who have been waiting for them to be released. Aeropod will be starting their shipping very soon, and we caught up with Swisside when we were in Challenge Rot, and they said they're not going to release their product just yet. They still got some fine tuning, and they're trying to make it more accurate. For now, nobody knows.
Well, it sounds like they're also trying to make it more affordable. They say they're hoping to get, this is Swisside, down to $800 US, but definitely not more than 1,000. Notio Connect is on the market currently at $950 US, and Aeropod don't have a price tag on there. So it's definitely at the upper end of the, getting into $1,000. You're not really going to have any change from that. But with that in mind, and I know you're very excited, you still haven't used it yet, what are you going to give it?
I am very excited about this. I think this is a really cool idea that people can just do aero testing out on the roads without going into a wind tunnel. Yeah, I'm going to give this a hot.
Right, last weekend we had the Hungarian Grand Prix. Now there's a little bit of a gap in the schedule for the Formula 1 drivers, and Romain Grosjean is not having a rest. He's a member of the Haas F1 team, and he's gone from Hungary straight out to France, ready to compete in the Alpe d'Huez Triathlon.
Yep, so that's taking place this weekend, and he's taking part in the shorter of the 2 or 3 distances I think they have on offer. So he starts with a 1.2 kilometre swim, 28 kilometre bike up Alpe d'Huez, so taking in one of the famous stages of the Tour de France, and then finishing with a 7 kilometre run around the resort.
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, we've seen Jenson Button combine Formula 1 racing with triathlon, and the more people we get into our sport, and they've got a pretty big audience. If some of them want to watch him and come to triathlon, I think it's got to be a hot.
Our next one, and this is proof that that pre-competition testing at the Ironman Age Group World Championships does work. And it's not the first time either, because there was a ban put on one athlete 12 months previously for someone that actually refused to take the test.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit crazy. Well, we just heard the news that Louis Rabanel from Mexico, who won the 18 to 24 age group last year by over half an hour, pretty huge. Well, he's actually been given a ban because he tested positive for too much testosterone. He's been given a 4-year ban as a result, and obviously had his title taken away as well. Yeah,
it's a big ban, but it's proving a big point there. So that's a definite not.
Right, this next bit, we are dipping our toes into slightly unknown territory here, because we are looking at the fashion world, or maybe the fashion world has been looking at us. Not
I'm
us,
very
exactly.
fashionable.
There have been cycling shorts spotted on the catwalk of the Spring-Summer 2018 catwalks, and throughout the summer, the likes of Naomi Campbell, the supermodel, has been wearing a white pair.
Whew. Well, it has actually been said by these fashion gurus that they should be donned with an XXL t-shirt or something quite baggy. I think they're missing the aero benefits of wearing cycling lycra, but hey,
maybe they are, but just trying to balance it out. But I mean, as a kid, I did used to wear cycling shorts quite a lot, and back in the 90s it was the pedal pushers, wasn't it? So kept your knees warm as well. So maybe
maybe we don't look so bad in our cycling gear after all, Heather. So we're going to give this a hot. Now, former Arizona Diamondbacks baseball player Eric Byrnes has been pretty active since his retirement from baseball, because he is now actually currently doing his triathlon across America.
And he literally is going across America. So he started off with a 7-mile swim across the bay in San Francisco. And now, well, he's already done that. And I think now he's actually in the process of the cycle, which is from San Francisco to Chicago, a total of 2,344 miles. He gets off his bike. He's then going to run to New York, which is another 846 miles.
Whew. And this isn't his first time of venturing into endurance and multisport, because he has actually already done 11 Ironmans, he's done 20 ultra marathons, and he's even set the world record for the most holes of golf played without a cart.
Wow, he definitely loves a challenge.
Yeah, but this is awesome, so we're going to give this a hot. Our next one is an interesting one, and if anyone out there follows CrossFit, then they will know that cyclocross was included in the CrossFit Games last year. And for this year's CrossFit Games, there is a rumour that triathlon is going to be included.
Yeah, they are still just rumours, but the mastermind behind the CrossFit Games, David Castro, has put a picture on Instagram of him with a Trek bike using the hashtags Trek CrossFit Games. So it's a pretty strong inkling there. And then there's another post here from the Nike CrossFit athlete, Sarah Sigmundsdottir. And she says, sharing her training session of a 1K swim, a 45K bike, and a 10.5K run with hashtags training/pre-games training camp.
Wow, it is interesting. And as the show goes out, the CrossFit Games are going to be starting with this long weekend through till the 5th in Madison in Wisconsin. And, well, we're going to be finding out very soon. So, yeah, I'm going to give this a hot.
Right, over to Germany for this next piece. And a naked cyclist has been caught, well, maybe not caught on camera breaking a speed limit. But apparently, because they can't identify him, I guess there are no clothes to identify him from other than his shoes, looks like he might be able to get away with this.
Yeah, well, according to police, he was travelling at 47 kilometres per hour in a 30 kilometres per hour area. And this does also coincide with the time that in a lot of Western Europe we're hitting a massive heat wave. So I don't know whether he was simply just too hot, so stripped off, or something else went on and he's trying to ride home as quickly as possible to get out of trouble. I don't know, but it's hilarious, and I think we're going to give this a hot. Right, ITU have just announced that David Mendoza Sanchez, a triathlete from Mexico, has been caught for a doping violation. It was from an in-competition test at the WTS Bermuda event.
Yeah, he was found to have a hormone and metabolic modulator, which he says he doesn't know how it got into his system, but he's not actually, denying the positive test. Although he speculates it's from vitamin B12, again, a tablet that he took the night before the test when he wasn't feeling so well.
Yeah, it's sad, but obviously we don't condone doping or failing any drugs tests, so this is a not. Well, according to a report, by 2050, there will be more plastic particles by weight in the ocean than fish. And actually, at least 267 species are affected by ocean waste, and especially sea turtles.
Oh, that's so depressing. Well, on top of that, apparently 3% of the total CO2 emissions are actually contributed by the clothing industry. And I know as triathletes, we probably don't help that because, a lot of our kit we use only a few times, and then t-shirts you get given as prizes, you get new team kit for each race or new kit each season. I think we're all quite guilty of adding to that as well.
Yeah, so on that aspect, that's a not hot. But there are some really good folk out there trying to do something about this. So first one is from Swimwear, which is a startup, and they're basically trying to create swimsuits that are made out of 100% recycled materials. And then there's one that's very similar called Batako, and that is a very similar brand and sense, but very cool designs.
Yeah, I like it. It looks really cool. There's also Zogs of doing their Ecolast, which is a range that they're making from the Econal yarn, which apparently is made from reclaimed ghost fishing nets, which, taking any nets out of the sea is going to be a good thing, and then the fact that they're recycling it is even better. Yeah, and they're throwing in old carpet, industrial waste, so there's all sorts making up those products, which is great to hear. So, yeah, we're going to give that a hot. Now for the race news, and we're going to start with Ironman Hamburg. And as we've mentioned already, we've had some warmer than expected conditions in Western Europe as of late. As a result, they've experienced some higher concentrations of this blue-green algae in the water, and as a result, they've had to cancel the swim at Hamburg, and they replaced it with a 6-kilometre run. But that didn't hold the guys back, because pretty much all of the main contenders came in under 20 minutes and within a few seconds of each other for that first 6 kilometres. On the bike, they more or less stayed together throughout the whole of that, and it was actually James Kunnemar that pushed the pace in around, I think, the last 30 kilometres or so, and managed to gain an advantage on the rest of the group. So he came in with about a few seconds lead over Bar Aernouts, and then further back we had Tim Don and then the rest of the field.
4 kilometres into the run, Bart Aernouts managed to snatch the lead back from Kunema, and by 10k had around 35 seconds on Kunema. Unfortunately for Tim Don, who was in 3rd place coming onto the run, he started to drift back himself and started to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, and this was his first full Ironman back, wasn't it?
Exactly, yes. I think everyone was really looking forward to watching him and hoping we'd see a great result from him. It was actually Joe Skipper that was charging through. He went into 3rd and actually eventually managed to pip James Kunema into 2nd. So it's Bart Aernouts that came home in 1st, Joe Skipper in 2nd, and then James Kunema.
Well, on the women's side, it was an equally fast start to that 6k, and it did include the likes of Daniela Samler and Sarah Crowley, who were just behind the front pace, but still in that pack. And then they worked very quickly together on the bike to make a break. And I think by halfway, they'd already got a 4 and a bit minute advantage on the rest of the field. But then it was actually Daniela Samler who opened up more of a gap on Crowley to come into T2 with more than a 2-minute lead. Looked like, you know, she might have this race under control, but Crowley was starting to wear her down. I think by 14k had halved that lead. But it's Sarah Crowley who went on to get the fastest run of the day to secure the win. Katrina Gojman stayed in 2nd place, and then it was Maya Staj-Nielsen who had a fast run just 3 seconds slower than Crowley's to secure 3rd.
Now for Ironman Switzerland, and in the men's race it was Jan van Berkel that led the swim out, and he was with quite a large lead main group. And then about 4 minutes back we had Cameron Worth, the Uber biker, and then another 30 seconds back we had Ronnie Schneldneck. Now on the bike that lead group stayed together, but Cameron Worth was trying to make his way up to that lead group. So by around halfway through the bike it was around 2 minutes and 34 seconds between that lead group and Cameron Worth. Unfortunately Ronnie Schneldneck was just losing time, so he clearly wasn't having his day. By the end of the bike, Cameron Worth had managed to take the lead, and he had around 30 seconds on David Plez coming into T2, and then another sort of 8 minutes to Jan van Berkel. On the run, Cameron Worth managed to maintain that lead for a while, but David Plez managed to take it from him eventually. And it was around the 34-kilometre mark that Jan van Berkel came charging through, passing Cameron Worth and David Plez to take the lead. So it was Jan van Berkel that took the win overall, David Plez in 2nd, and in 3rd, Cameron Worth. Well,
in the women's race, it was Annabelle Luxford who had a very dominant start. She had over 2-minute lead on Kaiser Sali and Sky Munch, but onto the bike, Sali put in quite a lot of work and soon got up to Annabelle Luxford and then went on to actually open up that lead. So by the time she came into T2, she had over a minute's advantage and the fastest bike split of the day. And she didn't really look back. We know Sally's a strong runner, so she went on to take the overall win without any sort of real threat, I don't think. But the battle then was for 2nd and 3rd between Luxford and Munch, and actually Munch had the stronger run and overtook Luxford to take 2nd, and Annabelle Luxford finished in 3rd.
Well, Ironman 70.3 Santa Rosa was another race where the swim was cancelled due to conditions, but this time it was because of heavy fog. And instead of replacing that swim with a run, this time they just started on the bike with staggered starts. So in the men's race, it was Sam Appleton that went to an early lead with around 3 minutes 40 on Jackson Laundry and came in with the fastest bike split of the day. On the run, Sam Appleton and Jackson Laundry more or less posted the same run splits around the 1:15 mark. But Sam Appleton, having had that advantage, took the win overall. Jackson Laundry in 2nd, and it was actually Tyler Butterfield that came racing through with a 1:12 half marathon split to take 3rd.
Well, on the women's, it was Heather Wurtell, who's known for her strong biking, that actually had the fastest bike split of the day. Jocelyn McCauley was 2nd, 43 seconds behind her, and then it's Marinda Carfrey, 1 minute and 11 back in 3rd. But we all know how strong a runner Marinda Carfrey is, and it didn't take her long until she passed Jocelyn McCauley. She had to do a bit more work to get to Heather Wurtell, but once she'd got that gap, she was pretty confident in front. She got the fastest run split of the day and got her first win back since having a baby. Heather Wurtell managed to hang on for 2nd, but it was Pamela Oliveira who actually moved up to take 3rd.
Well, over at Ironman Canada, it was a male-only pro race, and it was Brent McMahon that led the swim out, and just a few seconds back we had Mark Bosted, Jess Simmons and Justin Metzler. On the bike, all eyes were on Marino van Hoonacker. Now we know how strong he is, and he actually made a methodical push in the second half of the bike leg to get up to those leaders, and they eventually actually spat out Jeff Simmons out of the back. So going into T2, we had Marino van Hoenacker, Brent McMahon and Mark Bosted.
Well, it was Bosted and Van Hoenacker who I think struggled in the heat. Apparently by 3K they already just dropped right off the pace, and that left Brent McMahon to take the lead, and he stayed out there on his own for the whole of the run. Jeff Simmons looked like he was closing once or twice, but that gap stayed around 6 minutes for the whole of the run. Towards the end it actually opened up to just over 9 minutes. So Brent McMahon went on to take the overall win. Jeff Simmons was second and Matt Russell finished third.
Okay, now Challenge Prague, a race that I was really excited to see the results from, because not only did we have Javier Gomez racing, we also had his training partner Pablo de Pina racing, who, as we know, has won quite a few races this year and is showing quite a force to be reckoned with. Now, they both came out of the swim together and came into T2 together. So it was actually the run it all came down to, and no surprises, Javier Gomez put in a blistering run split of 1:13 to take the win. Pablo de Pina came in second, and then it was Peter Hemerich that came in third.
Well, in the women's race, there was a small margin for Katarina Verstoot coming out of the swim, but on the bike, there was a huge effort from Lisa Hautala, who went on to T2 with about 2-minute advantage, but then there was also Kirsty Jan and Laura Siddle, who weren't far behind Katarina Verstoot, and it was Verstoot, though, who had a strong run. She went on to take the win, overtaking Lisa Hautala, and Lisa Hautala actually dropped right back, and it ended up being a bit of a running battle between Kirsty Jan and Laura Siddle. Jan finishing second and Siddle in third.
And finally, WTS Edmonton. In the men's race, it was Vincent Louis that led the swim out with Jonathan Brownlee, and they were joined by a small lead breakaway group, actually. So despite their hard efforts, they were eventually caught on the bike, and into T2 there was a big group. And it's Mario Mola that took control on the second lap of the run and took the win overall. Christian Blumenfeld took second, and it was Jacob Birtwistle that outkicked his competitors in a large group behind that to take third.
Well, in the women's race, there was an attempted breakaway on the swim with Jess Learmonth, which we're getting used to seeing, but she was joined by Summer Cook. But it was soon onto the bike. I think they realised with that tough cycle course in Edmonton, they weren't going to be able to stay away, just the two of them. And a huge pack formed, including the likes of Ashley Gentle, Vicky Holland, Georgia Taylor-Brown, Katie Zaferes, basically all the big names were in there. So it did come down to a 10K running race. And Vicky Holland set the pace pretty quickly, and there was a few who were able to stay with her, like Zaferes and Gentle and Georgia Taylor-Brown and a couple of the other Brits. And then it was actually Gentle who stayed the longest until the final 500 metres, when Vicky Holland accelerated away to take the win overall. Ashley Gentle finished second on the podium, and it was another podium finish for Georgia Taylor-Brown, who finished third. And all in all, a great day for the British team, because of the top 5, they had 4 Brits.
Fantastic.
Impressive stuff.
Well, following on from that, we had the mixed team relay, which was hotly contested because we had 22 teams involved. In the first leg, it was actually Jess Learmonth of the UK and Taylor Spivey of the USA that took an early lead on that swim. And they were eventually joined by France's Sandra Dode. And onto the second leg, it was Johnny Brownlee and Vincent Louis that managed to break away from the chase group, including USA, Canada, Belgium and Australia. And it actually remained fairly close even through the third leg.
Yeah, it was. And Australia were dangerously close, because on the final leg, they had Jacob Birtwistle, who we know is extremely quick and very well designed for this short format in the mixed relay. And he used it to his advantage. So Australia came through to take another win in the team mixed relay. But it was only by 2 seconds ahead of the USA, so very close indeed. And then a further 8 seconds back, it was New Zealand who won the bronze. It's time for the Caption Competition, and yes, last week I took advantage of Mark being away, but it wasn't just because of that.
I'm starting to notice a theme here.
It's a good photo, and it was swim week.
I don't blame you. It's a very funny / silly photo. And we had some good comments or captions coming in. First one from CS over YouTube. They said, "Mark as a dad," and yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah, we'll check back in and see if you ever end up looking like that when you go swimming. Next one, well, that was actually a reply, I think, to CS from Elena Dog, and this is exactly what it looks like. I was going to say, Mark on a holiday camp with the kids.
Nice. Jack Heath said, "Retired pro decides to go back to basics." And
that's pretty much where you're at, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Quite true.
And yeah, the winning caption this week comes in from Robert MN, and they said, "When mum finally lets you dress yourself."
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite embarrassing what I wear.
Got some work to do, haven't we? Well, Robert MN, do get in touch and we will send this cap to you.
But now for this week's Caption Comp photo, and it's from WTS Edmonton, and it's the results we just read out with Vicky Holland winning the women's race, and she just looks rather surprised or doesn't quite believe it. So yeah, please do send in your captions in the comments section below. We're now for the GTN Tribe, and we're heading back to the Philippines for the Boits Power Triathlon team.
And we are. Well, these guys are a group of triathletes with normal day jobs, as I think quite a lot of us do, but also some students, and they say they really emphasise the importance of having that work-life balance and want to be an inspiration to other people within their office. I mean, that's what Mark and I try and do every day, but I like the sound of you know, what these guys are doing and trying to, you know, just really use the power of a sport to help motivate people.
Yeah, and I understand they're a relatively young club. I think they're just a couple of years old. They debuted at the Tri-United Exceed Standard Triathlon event, and I believe they did very well, actually. They placed 10th, I think it was, out of 224 teams. So yeah, very good. Some really cool outfits and tri-suits they've got going on there. So yeah, we absolutely love it. And on the subject of sending in your GTN tribes and your photos, we have a brand new photo uploader. And this isn't just for GTN, it's for GCN, GMBN, EMBN.
But send them all to us, really.
Yes.
I mean.
It's really straightforward. You don't need to go to Facebook or anything anymore. You just log in to the link that's going to be just below me now, and we're going to put it in the description. So really straightforward for you. All you have to do is sign in using your Facebook account or your Google account, or you can create an account. It's really quick. Just put in your email address, your name, date of birth, etc. And then all you have to do is click on GTN, and then you can just go through the categories as I'm doing now. So I can hit GTN Tribe. I will give it a title as to the club that I'm in, and then the location we're from, put in my description just here. The more in the description, the better for us, because then, you know, we really know, especially when it comes to tribes, we love to be able to share that information, so make sure you do get that across. Yeah, and as we've said before, events or anything you're doing, and you can attach your photos into this and click agree, and boom, upload your files. And we can do that for anything you like. Try DIY, transition zones on there, running photos, swimming photos, anything you want to send us, really, because the more photos the better. We just love getting this stuff. So yeah, it's really straightforward. Go to that link just below now. And on the note of sending in more photos, we are going to start up our Tri-Zone again. So if you're not aware or you haven't seen Tri-Zone before, last year with race season, we want all your transition areas. Yeah. So when you set your bike up, in transition, everything's ready. Take a photo and send it to us, because it's cool just to talk through it in the same way that we do with the pain caves. Yeah, so we're going to be sharing those hopefully next week onwards, but right now we have some pain caves to share with you. And our first one from Atro Monov, weather forecast isn't promising. Good morning from his pain cave. Well, I think if I had a pain cave like that, I wouldn't really worry about the forecast, to be honest. Yeah, it's pretty neat, isn't it? Tiny. I actually keep meaning to research what this turbo trainer is. It's like a, I know Flora Duffy uses it. Well, I was going to say, I've seen Flora using it. It must be a very compact one for travelling. Yes, yeah, so I think the front mount collapses down, and then you've just got a roller's wheels for the back, and I believe it's resistance as well. And they've got their mount in front of them for their iPads. It's a very smart setup. Minimalistic. And that's from Zug, wherever that is, but some mountains in the background. And this one's from closer to home. This is Thornbury, near us, and this is a giant Trinity TT bike setup with a nice, well, it's a trainer wheel on there. They got their trainer wheel on there, and on-wheel turbo trainer. But yeah, they've been making the most of the warmer weather in the UK. And rather than going out on the road, they set up with a turbo, but I'm sure they're just trying to get a quality session in. Or just really love Zwift. And finally, actually no, we've got two more. This one here is from KT4185 in Tampa, Florida. And I think they've probably been struggling with the heat more than we have. Pain caves coming together, trying to make sticking to my workouts easier than ever. And it was actually a comment here, does the pain cave have AC? And it turns out that it does. Yeah, they said they didn't realise the awesomeness when they bought this house, but they have an air-conditioned garage. I think that shows how hot it must get there, doesn't it? And this is actually the same pain cave, actually. It's just another view, so it's just showing their whole setup. They've got an Orbea bike there, and I think that's a Specialized bike hanging up there, and numerous wheels, all their swim bike run stuff. And yeah, and Very cool. Finally, one from Moscow.
Yeah, we don't get many from Russia. This is cool.
Yeah, so this is from Kluev Valana.
We might not get many more from Russia.
Terrible. And this looks like it's a Scott foil, I think it is, set up on a Kicker Snap turbo trainer. And
another very smart stand as well.
yeah, everyone's got all these cool Zwift stands. I need to get one of these.
I do.
But yeah, absolutely awesome. Please do keep sending in your photos and use our new photo uploader.
Exactly. Before we go, we actually have some exciting bargains on offer. The GTN shop currently has a sale of up to 50% off. So if you do like the look of these t-shirts, the swim caps, any of our cycling kit, I would suggest going to check that out. The link is going to be on the screen here in a moment. So just click on that link and you can see all of what we have to offer at bargain prices. And that goes on until, I think, Monday the 6th of August. So the show's coming out today on Wednesday. So you've got a few days left to go and grab those bargains.
Yeah, I'd rush on over there if I was you. And if you do want to see more videos from GTN, just click on the globe and subscribe. And by now, you probably have noticed that Heather has a lovely pull stroke.
Whereas I wonder where you're going with that.
Whereas I have kind of a straight arm windmill stroke when I swim. And we've actually done a video on that recently explaining kind of why our strokes are different and the benefits to both. So you can see that by clicking just down here.
And if you are wondering when we referred to the Caption Competition and GTN Swim Week, we weren't just in our armbands for all of it. And if you want to know exactly what we got up to, we made a video on swimming etiquette, and that is just here.